you've got to really get to a place of understanding these people are not God. And it's not fair to put their mistakes or even your mistakes on God. All right? And you also have to allow yourself to connect with God, not on just on a level of, okay, well, this is what Christians do. This is what good people do. More so on, no, let me find out, what does God have to say to me? How does he want to guide me in my life? What is it that he wants me to do? Because earlier you mentioned how you gave up friends, you gave up the girlfriend, you gave up all these things. But did God tell you to do that, or your church told you to do that?
I feel like it was God.
You feel like it was God.
Definitely.
Why did you feel like it was God?
Because I feel like a lot of decisions that are big like that in my mind, I always feel like it has God like in there. So it's sometimes where it's like, man, I drag it out and it's still there, and it's like, man, it's something I know I need to do.
Okay.
And even looking back at it now, I wouldn't change it, because I feel like at that time, it felt like it was still the right decision. It's like God told me to go to Indiana, and I know for a fact that's the right decision, because just doing a podcast, we have way more flexibility.
I think there's a bigger picture to you going to Indiana.
Well, I agree.
Now
I
that
agree.
I know your story.
It was definitely one of the reasons why I got there, but it got cold. I'm stupid. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I feel like it definitely wasn't people persuading me. It wasn't something where it was like, you need to do this, you need to do this, or, even telling myself. It was like, I know this is wrong. I know this is unhealthy for me. I know this, especially the relationship with the girlfriend. Like, I know it was wrong. I know it was unhealthy for us. Because in all honesty, we was probably doing everything besides having sex. So it's just like, as a new believer, that's not helping me in my walk with God. So I know, biblically, even for myself, it was the right decision to make, and that was a very hard decision.
So let's go with that. Let's go with, it really was God telling you to let go of all those things and those people. But you mentioned how after you did it, you didn't see the reward, so to speak.
Yeah, I didn't see what was, I thought, supposed to come from that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. One, what you thought was supposed to come, was that something that you came up with in your own head, or was that something that you felt God told you would come from those things?
Probably something in my own head.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So one, understand the difference between setting up your own expectations versus what you felt God is telling you is going to come into your life. All right.
Yeah, that's tough, because I feel like if you know you have, like, you giving up something bad, naturally you're going to expect something good out of it.
And listen, you're right. However, the problem is, as human beings, we don't know how to always process what's good and what's bad. Our perceptions of those things can be very skewed. For example, let's say you were working at a job and God told you to let go of these people, all right? And you're thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe this means I'm going to get a promotion at this job. God's going to do something special for me. And then that job fires you. Now, in that moment, you're going to process this bad. Why did this happen to me? That's unfair. I follow God, and now he set me up like this. But for all you know, you were getting fired because something else was going to come around that was going to pay you more, make you happier, and be the best thing that could have ever happened to you. You can't see that yet. You're stuck in the moment. And again, we process things a certain way, and we think this is bad. This is the worst thing that could have happened. But the worst thing that could have happened could be the best thing that could have happened to you. And so you have to be patient. So when you say, that was God that told you to do that, and you feel very confident about the decision you made, for future reference, I'm saying stick with the process. The process doesn't always bring an immediate reward, but the reward is coming. So I'll use me as an example. I always felt God was telling me to do this whole writing a book, relationship stuff. And for the first, 3 years, I was broke. 4 years. I don't know how many years it was. It was a long time.
Yeah.
All right. and I mean, dead broke.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle. And so even people were like, well, how can you tell us God is telling you this when you're still broke, when you're still struggling? But just because it hadn't happened yet doesn't mean I heard wrong. It just means the time did not come. Now we fast forward and I'm good. I'm doing better.
Yeah. Must be nice.
I'm doing better than the people who was telling me, get a real job. What are you doing? This is pointless. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
So I give that example to simply say, don't get caught up in what's happening at the moment. That's how faith is tested. You know, your faith isn't tested until what's happening in front of you doesn't line up with what you felt God told you. All right. That's when you're really going to be put to the grind and be like, all right, what are you going to do now? Are you going to still listen to God or are you going to go on your own way? But I say this to you, not for you to go back and beat yourself up about how you handled it, but for you to be strengthened moving forward. Because as you continue to have a relationship with God, you're going to hear more things. You're going to be led in certain ways. And you've got to be able to trust the process. Sometimes it takes time. You know what I'm saying? But again, I think that ultimately you've got to resolve your differences with God. Because here's one thing I've learned. If we have any issue with God, we somehow think that we can have this issue, but still live this godly life or still be this good person on the right path. And we can manage the situation, but you can't. That disconnect you got with God, because at the core of who you are, you have a foundation of God. All right. You have that belief system. That is what you've been living or trying to live. And so with this disconnect that you have in this area with him, that's creating a disconnect in all the other areas. And that makes it harder for you to have clarity as to what he wants you to do, how you should be handling things, and being able to be more confident and faithful in certain situations. So definitely your father and God, which, you know, again, it's funny because you've combined those two things in your life. But one, we need to separate them, and then we need to address them properly. And I'm certain you do this, your life is going to change, bro. It's going to be very, very different. And especially with these unhealthy relationships you've had with women, that's going to come to a stop completely. Because as much as you may be trying to stop it right now, if you don't heal, you will be back in no situation like that.
Yeah.
You know? So are you prepared to take these steps?
Don't ask me like
No, I need you.
Like I'll pay you to do this.
I need you to say you are prepared to take these steps.
I'm gonna do it. God dang it. I'm prepared to take these steps.
Good. You know I'm gonna hold you to it.
Unfortunately, I know you're gonna do it. Nah, I know it needs to be done. Because I mean, I like